Hey, so a really common question I get when I'm giving any sort of keynote is, what are the behind the scenes of everything? And in particular, people are wondering like, what camera are you using? And why do you look so clear on Zoom? And what's your microphone and whatnot? My intention in this video is just to answer all the questions super technically and specifically for what gear I use to be able to present virtually. Let's get into it. So for me, presenting virtually has nothing to actually do with the equipment, or very little to do with the equipment. The content is way more important, right? Like what actually people hear and receive on the other end matters more, right? I could give lousy content and have the best setup in the world and it would still be garbage. And so I'm sharing you my setup, not necessarily as a recommendation for like, you should do this, because everybody's space is different, everybody's budget is different, everybody's intention is different. And so whether you're teaching an online class at a university or speaking and presenting professionally, my invite would be to take whatever piece of this that you want. So if you like the mic, take that. If you like the camera, take that. If you like the way that I screen share an iPad and split screen over Zoom, do that. One other thing before we get rolling here, just to know about this video, is the first half is gonna be like nitty gritty. Here's the hardware that I'm using. And the last third, I'm going to share how that pairs with all the software. So I'll kind of invite you into the behind the scenes and I'll pretend that I have a workshop or a virtual keynote happening in 10 minutes. And I'll just open everything up and narrate and let you know what I do to open things up and get things rolling. All right, usually what sparks the question, what camera are you using or what mic are you using, is the sound and the audio. So we'll start with the things that matter most virtually presenting, is what is your audience seeing and what are they hearing? So these two are the main pieces, and there's some attachments that allow them to work. So this is the Sony a6400, cool, super cool camera. This is the Sigma, and Steven, my videographer friend, is gonna correct me.
I think it's a 16 millimeter 1.6.
There you go, or 16 millimeter 1.4, is that possible?
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, we'll link the everything in the description if you wanna check it out. So this is what allows my face to be super hyper in focus and the background to blur out a little bit. So if you've seen any other videos on my channel, everything is actually recorded from, or every video in this location is recorded right in this spot. And so it blurs out the background, which the lens in this particular space is important because this is my attic, this is my home. It's a cool space, but it's kind of a tight space for filming, like not necessarily the most ideal right off the bat. And so this lens helps a lot because it puts my face in focus, creates that really nice soft background. So we got the camera. For the mic, for recording, this is the Rode something or other.
It's the Rode Video Mic Pro.
There you go, thank you. That will be linked below as well. And this tripod, I messed with a bunch of tripods. And in the video, I'm gonna share the imperfections too, but I messed with a bunch of tripods. This one in particular I liked because it bent and hung over the desk. And what I found was with this lens, if it was way over here, it didn't work. And even worse, I did try at one point to attach it to the desk, which really didn't work. If you're professionally presenting, I think unless you have a really sturdy desk, and I don't even know what desk would be as sturdy that would negate this problem, you want your tripod mounted on the ground, because this desk, even though it's nice and sturdy, things still move a little bit, and that's one of the not ideal parts of the setup. I don't know what this desk is, an uplift desk. I remember watching like 3 hours of YouTube videos at some point trying to figure out what standing desk to get, and I like this one. It was simple, it allowed everything to move. It was not particularly cheap, but it wasn't particularly expensive either. It's kind of a middle of the road option, and you could get it the size that I wanted. So we've got camera, we've got the mic for the camera, we've got the tripod, and then over here, this mic is awesome. People are often like, hey, you're presenting on Zoom, or whatever their platform, but it sounds like a podcast or something. So this is the Rode something or other, USB something, condenser studio mic, link below. This is a boom arm, which I don't like. This is a Rode boom arm. I've linked the one that I might get if this one ever breaks or if I find somebody to donate it to. And the reason I don't like it is it's kind of clunky. It takes up lots of space here and covers part of the screen. There are some that are a little bit more flexible that work better. But this allows me, when I'm presenting here to the screen, allows me to move the mic up, and all of a sudden my audio changes, and that's really good for attention, because if I want to say something really important, I might just say it like this. And that, if somebody's checking their email in the background, they're going to tend to be like, ooh, what's happening here? And so they kind of tune in. I did want to give you a realistic perspective. I will say I want to share the imperfections of the system that don't work. The only thing that I did really to prep for this was slightly clean my desk. I will point out presentation, not tech related thing, is these this stuff is stuff that I often hold up to the camera to focus on here rather than screen sharing or presenting slides. So it's all really nice and neat right now. By the end of a workshop, it looks like a hurricane just mauled my desk and soared through. But point is, having an analog agenda for me laid out is really cool. Like, I know I'm going to start with this question, and then I want to share this quote to frame up the context, and then I want to jump into here. Okay. These crazy arm mounts, I'm not going to recommend, and I'm not going to link because they're really bouncy. Get other ones. I think, honestly, the ones, if I were to get them again, like the cheapest ones off of Amazon that are pretty static, find those. Maybe we will find a link to those. These came with the uplift desk. And one of the biggest keys to all of this is this little device here. And I know it's kind of like tucked away here. You can see how many ports here. So this USB-C hub is a CalDigit T3 something or other. I looked a lot for a hub that would work. I tried out a handful of them. I like this one, partly because it has a power supply and it seems to take a little bit of the pressure off of my computer. So like, there's a lot of stuff running off of here, so the intensity, the power just seems to take a little bit of that power. Let's zoom into this one more second. So in order for this camera to be read by Zoom, I need this little cable here, which is a mini HDMI to HDMI. Oh my gosh, if you're not asleep yet, you're getting serious with this content. And then it goes into a capture card, which if I were to get this again, I would get a Camlink 4K, like the real capture card. This one is like an off-brand, and can be a little touchy. There's some issues with it, so I wouldn't recommend that. And that is plugging into USB-C hub. So this is just an HDMI, and what it does, it says, "Hey computer, take the lens from the camera and port it through and put it through as a zoom." And I'll show you how I do that from a software perspective when we get to that place. Whew. All right, lights. Steven actually just came over to help get some lights set up, and the one I got recommended, which is worked okay for now. I might explore something new, but because this space I'm using the ceiling to diffuse the light, because I don't want like super bright light shining in my face for 6 hours a day. So it's a newer, how do you say that?
Newer.
Neewer lighting kit there, and that forms, and here's where Steven's gonna jump in if I'm wrong. Ideal lighting setup is you've got a key light here that's at about 45 degrees, or in this case, the key light is bouncing off the ceiling at about 45 degrees, casts a little bit of a shadow. Backlight, which this is weird, right? This is like, this is not a natural thing, but this illuminates the background and creates that separation from me. Is that what it does? I don't know, maybe?
Yeah, it lights your environment and it creates a bit of, makes it look nice and well lit.
Yeah, turns an attic into a studio, which most of us are either working from home, presenting from home. You're probably watching this in this context. If you have some giant $1 million studio set up, you're probably not watching this video. And so finding the imperfect ways to make your space look and operate much better for you works well. When I'm present, I try to meditate beforehand. That happens about 30% of the time. And then in terms of sitting versus standing in presenting, I definitely love to stand most of the time. This was a new purchase, just like one of the little like bouncy mats over here. And that works really well for me because I do like to stand for 8 hours a day, and it's good to have a little cushion. Whenever I do a Q&A, so I might give a keynote standing up, I want to switch states a little bit, and so I'll go over and I'll grab this stool over here, and we'll just pull this up, and that will put audience members in a little bit of a different state. Oh, he's sitting, we're just having a chat back and forth. And so I like having that sit and stand option. One more thing, and then I'll get into the software that I think will be really useful for you, is my setup number 2. I don't have it yet, but at some point I want to get just a Logitech webcam to put over here so that I can switch in between 2 cameras on Zoom or while presenting to show a little bit of the behind the scenes, partly because there's curiosity, but just to mix up that format. We get so used to like being in the Zoom box like this, where our heads are just in the center. And so to be able to mix that up, if you're professionally presenting or if you're teaching online and you're looking to increase connection and engagement, that would be a super helpful thing. All right. Speaking of, it's starting to feel like an MTV Cribs episode or something, and there's an actual crib 1 floor below me with my son sleeping in it. So that's, I think, part of the magic of presenting from home is you're also in a context where life happens, humanity. Oh, look, a YouTube channel. How lovely. So if I was presenting and I was coming on here and I had a workshop in a half hour and we needed to go on and sound check, make sure everything was working, I would open up a few things. So I would open up Zoom, I would open up a tool called Ecamm Live. All right, so Ecamm allows me, when I'm on Zoom, I can feed my camera through as a virtual camera. Now, one of the things this video is not gonna cover is you will have to do a little bit of homework. I would prepare, if you choose to do a setup like this, if you choose to present through a DSLR camera like this, all of that, you're gonna need to, I would say, just block off a half day or maybe even a full day to like figure it out. Do some YouTube tutorials of like making sure you get everything right. There's some settings to change that I don't remember. You just have to do them once and then it's done. But just know that that is part of the whole situation. So Ecamm's super cool. It allows me to do things like do a timer. So it allows me to set up, so I can actually portal this right through Zoom. So the camera is coming through here. Hello. And this timer's coming through here, and then I can press this and it'll split screen with my iPad. So iPad over here, which is just plugged in with a USB into that USB hub, and Ecamm will read that. And so I can do things like this. We're gonna have pre-prepped things. Oh my gosh, look at that. You should totally hit the like button if you're still enjoying. That's really useful because I way prefer having the ability to draw out and kind of have conversation with people and map something out and draw a model on the spot that I want to talk about that really helps make a point, as opposed to having pre-prepared scripted PowerPoint slides. So that's what Ecamm allows me to do. You can also record right through there as well, which is nifty. I would also, at the beginning of the workshop, I would have Spotify pulled up or some copyright-free 2-hour-long playlist off of YouTube if it was going to be shared or streamed anywhere. So I'd have YouTube there. Let's actually just start up a Zoom. So if we come over here, I don't know how well this is going to show up, but now I've got multiple cameras that I can go through. Ecamm actually comes through as an option. So when I go to choose where my video comes through, I can choose Ecamm, turn that on. Hi, Stephen. And so we've got this all set up here. Now, watch Zoom. So keep watching the Zoom screen here. When I'm in Ecamm, this is where when I press Command 2, splits iPad and we can do that whole drawing thing, or I can press Command 6 and it'll have a nice call to action where you can get some more free resources, or that timer that I mentioned earlier can come up, or we can even portal through, and this is just coming through as a webcam. So in gallery view, this would just be in a little box. I'm not actually screen sharing right now, which is kind of cool. You can actually portal videos right through Zoom as well. So when I do this, I can be switching through those things, allows me to portal a video through, and I would just spotlight myself to force my little Zoom box to get big for everybody else. And if I was talking to somebody else, I would just double spotlight them as well. One other thing that I generally keep up, because I use it fairly enough, is this Zoom's just like virtual backgrounds. So if you've watched many of my other videos, you might see how I use this virtual background of Otto, where I actually put on, where is it? Oh my goodness, we're gonna do it live. Where I actually put on Otto's hat and I invite a group to put on Otto's hat because I want them to be really curious and to just enjoy the process of learning, and to just use this virtual background as in a quick moment, right, to make a little bit of connection at scale happen. And then I use zoom filters, like all the silly stuff that you can do on Zoom. I just keep this frame up here on a second screen. This second screen, by the way, I would not recommend. It's a Scepter something or other. It's too big. It's not good. So this silly stuff, sometimes I use purposefully as I'm presenting rather than silly stuff. So if I'm talking about adding depth to Zoom, I might put this on. And if I'm inviting a group to ruthlessly misinterpret or reinterpret everything I say and steal it and apply it to their own context, I might put this hat on and invite the rest of the group to put it on really quickly. Little things like that just add a bit of ambiance. I don't think you need to be in a $1 billion studio or a big stage with crazy lights in order to meaningfully connect and engage with people. In fact, I think one of the brilliant things about presenting via Zoom is it's this, you're not on a stage. You could just be on a one-to-one Zoom with everybody else. There's a different level of intimacy, even than if you were in a big audience. If this didn't answer any of your questions, go ahead and leave comments, and either me or somebody else will drop some answers, technical or otherwise. Thanks for hanging out in cyberspace. I'm Chad Littlefield. Have an awesome day.